Ever thought about the Pala Empire? They ruled parts of India from the 800s to the 1100s. This was a time of big changes. The Pala Empire was powerful, spiritual, and artistic. They left a big mark on India. The Palas loved education, art, and religion. You can still see their influence in India today. This video will tell you more about this interesting time. It'll talk about important events, art, culture, Buddhism, and what the empire left behind. So, get ready for a trip back in time. Come with us, we learn more about this history. The Pala Empire's beginnings are very interesting, filled with important events and people. This empire is a major part of Indian history, thanks to its founder, Gopala. The people of Bengal chose Gopala as their leader around the mid-8th century. This was different from the usual way of choosing leaders by family ties. Gopala was chosen because people needed a solid, reliable ruler. Gopala, as a good leader, started the Pala dynasty, which ruled for about 400 years. His son, Dharmapala, took over from him. Under Dharmapala, the empire became strong and wealthy. Dharmapala was not just king who fought wars. He also supported education and culture. He set up famous universities called Vikramshila and Somapura Mahavihara. As the empire grew, it became more powerful. The Palas expanded their land to include and parts of Orissa. They also formed friendly relationships with the Tibetan Empire and the Arab Abbasid Caliphate. These connections helped the Pala Empire grow by bringing in new thoughts, cultures, and knowledge. In the 9th century, Devapala, Dharmapala's son, became the king. Like his father, his rule saw the empire grow in land size and culture. He protected the empire from enemies, and his rule covered the north and east parts of India. But the growth of the Pala Empire was not just about gaining more lands or political power. It was also a time when culture, education, and religion grew. The Palas supported Buddhism a lot, and because of this, Buddhism grew very much. This can still be seen today. The rise of the Pala Empire made them a strong force in the area. They left a strong mark on history, and they still affect the culture and education in eastern and northeastern India today. The Pala Empire was not only a strong political empire, but also a place where art, culture, and knowledge flourished. This empire, which was in the eastern and northeastern regions of India, loved the arts. Their rule lasted from the 8th to the 12th centuries, and during this time, there was a lot of creativity and learning. Let's explore more about Pala art and culture. The Palas were famous for their skill in making sculptures. Their style, known as the Pala school of sculptural art, was marked by detailed work, expressive figures, and the use of hard materials like stone and bronze. These sculptures often showed religious themes, showing the strong spiritual beliefs of that time. But the Pala Empire did more than just visual art. They also loved literature. The royal courts were full of scholars who wrote important works in Sanskrit and other regional languages. These pieces of writing covered a lot of different topics, from poetry and drama to philosophy and religion, and they are still valued today for their rich language and cultural knowledge. Religion was also a big part of the Pala Empire. They were committed followers of Buddhism, and this faith greatly impacted their art and learning. The Palas played a key role in starting famous Buddhist educational centers like the universities of Nalanda and Vikramshila. These places of learning drew scholars from all over, which added to the cultural richness of the empire. In terms of architecture, the Pala period saw the building of beautiful temples and monasteries. Their architectural style featured detailed carvings, grand entrances, and the use of terracotta. The Somapura Mahavihara, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, shows their skill in architecture. The Palas made a lasting impact on the culture of the Indian subcontinent. Their legacy continues to inspire and fascinate, showing their deep influence on art, literature, religion, and architecture. Buddhism and the Pala Empire were closely connected. The religion grew a lot under the rule of the Palas. The Palas really liked Buddhism and did a lot to make it popular in their region. They followed Mahayana Buddhism and worked hard to spread it. All Pala kings, starting from Gopala, who started the dynasty, to Ramapala, who was the last great Pala king, supported many Buddhist monasteries. They helped by giving land, money, and resources to build monasteries and support Buddhist monks. Because of their help, famous Buddhist learning centers like the universities of Nalanda and Vikramashila were created. These centers were more than just places to learn about religion. They were places where people could learn all kinds of things like philosophy, medicine, astronomy, and math. These universities attracted students from many places. One of the famous teachers of this time was Atisha Dipankara, a Buddhist teacher from the well-known Vikramashila University. He helped bring Buddhism back to life in Tibet. His teachings had a big impact on Tibetan Buddhism, and people still respect him today. The Palas also supported the creation of Buddhist art and literature. During the Pala rule, there was a lot of advancement in Buddhist art. Many beautiful bronze statues and detailed stone carvings of Buddhist gods and stories were made. These artworks show us how skilled the artists were during the Pala rule and give us a peek into what religious and cultural life was like back then. Basically, the Pala Empire's support for Buddhism was about more than just religion. It helped people grow intellectually, artistically, and culturally. It also helped shape the culture of the regions they ruled. The Pala Empire was very important in spreading and growing Buddhism. Their influence is still seen in Indian history, reminding us of a time when a king's support could really change the direction of a religion. The Pala Empire, like all big kingdoms, eventually started falling apart. Their problems were a mix of fights within their own family, a shaky political system, and attacks from outside. The Pala Empire, once a symbol of art, culture, and Buddhist thinking, started breaking down because of these problems. Fights within their own family had a big part in making the empire weaker. The Palas, like many other ruling families, also had fights about who would be the next ruler. These fights and other secret plans made the family weaker from inside. The empire faced continuous attacks. The Palas were always in danger from the families ruling the areas around them. The growth of the Pratiharas in the west and the Rashtrakutas in the Deccan, along with continuous attacks by the Cholas from the south, slowly ate away at the size of the empire. But the fall of the Pala Empire didn't happen in just one day. It was a slow process that took many years, maybe even hundreds of years. But even though they fell, the Palas left behind a lot of great things that are still loved in the areas they once. The Pala Empire, in its best days, was a big place for culture and learning. The universities of Nalanda and Vikramshila did really well under the Palas and became a place for scholars from all over the world. The effect of this wave of learning can still be felt today in the rich writing and cultural traditions of Eastern India. Also, the Palas are remembered for the great things they did in art and architecture. The Pala style of sculpture, known for its detailed work and emotional feel, continues to inspire artists and workers even today. In religion, the Palas helped the spread and growth of Buddhism. The signs of their support for Buddhism can still be seen in the Buddhist practices and traditions in parts of Eastern India and nearby countries. Even though they fell, the great things the Palas did continue to be remembered in the areas they once ruled. The Pala Empire has an interesting story that shows us how past civilizations have shaped history. We've gone back in time to see how this empire became important, what they did for art and culture, how they helped Buddhism grow, and how they finally fell, but left a lasting impact. Each bit of the Pala Empire's story shows us why we should keep learning about history. It asks that the past isn't just an old memory, but something that still affects us today and will do so in the future. So why not learn more? The Pala Empire has lots of exciting stories and important lessons for us to discover. You might out even more about this big time in Indian history. Thank you for coming with us on this trip through history. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share our videos to learn more cool stuff about history.